gladdened my heart when I saw that. I'd call it a passive statement because from my sources, an official statement is yet to be issued on the idea of house and land agents being banned in Ebonyi State. I tell you what, Franklin, if you have an encounter with these land agents, I call them unofficial Yahoo boys. I have sat in a place where they have their conversations, and there is no way you tell me that some of them, not all, okay, I'm going to be quite factual about this. I've met some of them who understand the tenets of the job, but some of them are just out there to rip people off. When we moved from giving 10% of the actual cost of the building, the flat or the land in question to the land agent, to giving whatever they decide or impose, I do not know, but that has become the modus operandi. And so I am hoping that that statement is authenticated. I mean, probably backed by the Ebonyi State House of Assembly and eventually replicated across board in different parts of the country. And of course, this is the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning to you and welcome to the Friday edition of the program. My name is Chisom Chinedu and I am not alone in the studio. Franklin Ebuka is here as well. Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning. And I have to latch on to what you just said regarding what the story kept coming from Ebonyi State. I think initially it came out like a news flash. We were waiting for various national dailies to confirm that, but we didn't get that. But some bloggers had already went to town with that, but already gone to town with that very story. And this very morning, of course, we were able to confirm from government sources saying that in a matter of hours or in a matter of a day, we are going to receive an official press statement from the governor confirming that it has indeed declared war on land agents. But let me tell you something. In any system where there is no regulation, in any system where there is no law regulating a particular sector, of course, this kind of thing is bound to happen, where everybody becomes the lord of his own and decide what happens. The real estate sector is yet to be regulated here in Nigeria, or basically, let me say, in the southeast, where a land agent can decide that if I sell your land for you, I'm entitled to maybe 50% or 40%. This time around, it depends on your bargaining power. There is no cap to it, so it's dependent on whatever you might agree with that very person. The same applies to people who are house agents. I think sometime on this very platform we talked about it, and I would say there's need to have regulation, there's need to have a cap, and I think that's why Enugu State House Assembly went on, went into enacting that very bill, which is still before the House, to ensure that there's a cap for what a land agent or what a house agent can take as percentage from either selling a land or renting an apartment. So we'll see how Ebonyi State government is going to assist. But that's number one. That's on one side. So let me come back to Anambra State here, where for a long time people have been waiting for the ruling party in Anambra State. I'm talking about Ebuka to constitute its campaign council, because I know that ADC has constituted, APC has done that, YPP on the verge of that. In fact, we've not constituted. But from what I gathered last night, that Ebuka has already released a 482-member Anambra State governorship election campaign council. That tells you that in the coming days we're going to begin to see political campaigns taking off in full force, because we're now counting about 2 months plus for us to go for the election. And yesterday, INEC released the final voter register for eligible voters in Anambra State ahead of the election, and we are counting 2.8 million registered voters in Anambra State. And I must tell you that if you look at the breakdown, you see the percentage of youth, you see the percentage of adults, and also you look at the breakdown according to local government where elections are decided. Take for instance, Idemili North has always been there. People who come up with so much vote and decide who gets to win election in Anambra State. Then we go to Niger State, where the governor has banned preaching in the public, and he said if you want to preach in the public, go to a certain agency, apply and get a license before you can preach in the public. And they're saying it's not just apply, that after applying you are going to face a panel who are going to screen you to determine the essence of your preaching, and that will tell them whether they're going to grant you that license or not.
What I say is say no to noise pollution And of course, we are not alone in the studio. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki is here on the analysis desk to do justice to all of the matters before us this morning. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Indonesia. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure to be here. We are happy that this Friday today is Eid al-Maulud. Is a day where our Muslim brothers celebrate the birth of Prophet Muhammad. So today is public holiday for those who are in public service. Today is public holiday. So we say happy public holiday. And we also thank God it's Friday. So you're welcome. Remember, this is our sanctuary. We are back to pontificate the truth and say nothing but the truth. You're welcome. We also say good morning to our Lord, the God Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, for making us to be here this morning. You're welcome.
All right, we are going to go straight to telling you what the front pages of the papers hold this morning. On our desk, we have the Vanguard, the Punch, This Day, and of course, the Guardian newspapers. And we are starting with the Vanguard banner headline here. Opposition mounts against FG's 5% tax on petrol, diesel. This story is on page 5, and the riders. Stakeholders push against Tinubu's 5% fuel tax. We will mobilize Nigerians against it. JAF vows. Why Tinubu's 5% fuel tax should wait. Peter Obi. 5% petrol tax, a cruel burden on struggling Nigerians. The ADC has reacted. Now, above the nameplate of the paper, FG makes tax identification mandatory for banking allied services on page 19. Tinubu's development agenda driven by national interest, not politics. Minister on page 9. Osun LG crisis, Algon APC disagree over signatories to accounts with CBN on page 10. We won't allow APC rig 2027 polls. Ambassador Yisa on page 14. Please invite El Rufai, ADC leaders over alleged conspiracy incitement on page 8. On page 9, ex-governor Flay's move to stop opposition meetings. When the conversation starts proper, we take a listen at some of the things El Rufai said when he addressed what happened at that party meeting in the Northwest. 2027 resurrecting zoning is regressive. Olawekbo Hashim support groups. Right here, one of consequences as Hashim vows to contest presidency. Find this on page 27 on the sports column. This one says D26 WCQ Super Eagles focused on Marvel B, not Bafana. This is from Ekong, pardon me. This is from Ekong. And that's what we have on the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, so from that very story coming from the sports column, talking about the World Cup qualifier between Nigeria and Rwanda, which is going to happen in New York tomorrow. That's why the Super Eagles captain is talking about, their chances to qualify. And was it this very morning I read about former Super Eagles coach Vincent Nyama saying that he's optimistic that Nigeria is going to qualify. Let's see how that very one pans it. And then over to the Guardian newspaper, we have this headline that says, how bias for sports entertainment reinforces school na scam myth. Read the big story and see on page 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Of course, you will see the picture of sportsmen and women. I can see the face of Super Falcons captain, Mama G Ajibade. All right, so let's look at these very other stories. Police summon El Rufai, ADC leaders for alleged conspiracy. The story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. ADC audio before Tinubu's fiscal triumphs as cruelty over compassion. The story is on page 6. Osun Argon accuses CBN of sabotaging local government payments. The story is on page 7. If you also go to Ondo State, where we have Lucky Aiyedatiwa as the governor, and there's a sports story, or rather, there's a story on Punch newspaper where the local government chairman in that very state, they're accusing the governor of diverting the money meant for that very state. They're saying that despite the fact that Supreme Court has ruled that there is autonomy for local government, that money due to local government still comes in through the Joint Account Committee, and that's of about 644 million that comes to one local government area. The governor diverts 600 and gives diverts 600 plus and gives only 4 million to local government chairmen for them to run the local government in a month. And they are saying that this is not what the Supreme Court envisaged in that very interpretation of the Constitution with respect to local government autonomy in Nigeria. Okay, and that story we have here says 70% of telecom downtime linked to energy issues. Who is saying so? The Minister of Communications. And then let's go back to below the nameplate. Tinubu embarks on 10-day working vacation in Europe. It's on page 2 and 3. I read that very statement that was issued by Bayo Nanuga yesterday, saying that Mr. President is going to embark on vacation. And I didn't see any part where he talked about whether the president transmitted power to the vice president, because the law is expert about this. The law is saying that when the president is going on vacation or when he cannot discharge his responsibility, he has to transmit power to the vice. But in this case, I did not read that very one. Then, under headline stories here says 80 million Nigerian youths jobless, 1,500 schools shut in 2 years, says report. WHO AU tax Nigeria on 2,000 declaration, 20% public health spending. The story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. And the last headline here says retired soldiers protest lack of merit. DHQ insists. The story is on page 28 of Guardian newspaper.
And of course, from the Guardian newspaper, we proceed to this day. Banner headline here: Jonathan, Nigerian politics is full of traitors, liars. The writer here, or writers, they will tell you something, the next hour they are saying another. Says he has witnessed a lot of betrayals. This story is on page 10. Please summon ex-Kaduna Governor El-Rufai. Others for disturbance of public peace on page 10. Tinubu departs Abuja for 10-day working leave in Europe on page 10 as well. Franklin, about El-Rufai's summon now, it's beginning to look like there are too many issues on ground. One report says for criminal conspiracy, and now we are hearing for disturbance of public peace from this day newspaper. And of course, CBN replacing civil servants with APC members as local government accounts signatories, says Oshun Algon. I say that's a very big allegation there. Demands urgent investigation. This story is also on page 10. And on the fashion segment, quite iconic here, Giorgio Armani, iconic Italian fashion designer, dies at 91. This story is on page 6. But we are proceeding now from the This Day newspaper.
Okay, so we are going to go to the Punch newspaper for us to look at the headlines there. And we have this very banner headline on Punch newspaper. It says, Afenifere Northern leaders demand state police amid delays. The story is on page 2. It has riders. FG defense delay, says security reforms undergoing due process. Framework with states. Afenifere MBF Pandev insist state police in overdue. And Northern leaders press for action. Was it not 2 days ago or 3 days ago that Mr. President told Al Makura and his group that he is committed to state policing? But if you read this very report on Punch newspaper, you begin to wonder why we have had so much delay in getting this implemented. I know that since 2023, that was when we mooted this, and states were asked to submit a report on their stance and how they plan to implement state police. And as of April last year, I was aware that 16 states had submitted. By December, almost all of them have submitted. And by April this year, I was made to know that almost all of them have submitted. And some other states were given some more days for them to look into their books and then come out. But what is worrying is that, we could keep on talking about being committed to these things, and we have not shown that commitment in action. The last time we had NEC meeting, that was in April, because NEC is where this thing is discussed. Last time was in April, and since April till today, no NEC meeting has held. Normally, NEC meeting holds every last Thursday of every month, but we have not had it since the last one we had in April. So are we actually serious and committed to this issue of state policing? Then beside the nameplate on the Punch newspaper, you see the headline here that says Ogun Agon challenges CBN over local government account signatories. The story is on page 2. FG seeks fresh $1.75 billion World Bank loan. The story is on page 16. Of course, the story is trying to prove that statement, which was made by President Bola Tinubu, that Nigeria is no longer borrowing, is false. That's what the report is trying to prove. That if you go to a World Bank website, you see that before the year runs out, that Nigeria is still going to borrow about $1.75 billion from that international lender. New parties seeking INEC registration surged to 171. INEC gave that very report yesterday. So it's on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Jonathan blames betrayal for 2015 election loss. It's on page 12. He was at a birthday event by a former deputy governor of Edo State, where he made that very comment, saying that he lost the election because people he trusted betrayed him. Train derailment sparks NRC reorganization is on page 18. Panic as 5 bodies found along Lagos River Bank. The story is on page 4 and 5. If you go through, it tells you that there are suspicion that the deaths could be linked to cult activities in those areas. And then the last story we have here says CBT, WAEC mandates 250 computers, CCTV for school. The story is on page 23. This might make an interesting conversation, because WAEC is saying that any school that wants to use its premises for the CBT, which is going to kick off by the next the next WAS
SSC examinations.
Exactly, saying you must have 250 computers, laptop computers, have CCTV, have power backup, plenty of things they mentioned. And WAEC is saying that if the schools cannot meet up with all these protocols, of course, they have to be sent to another areas where they have such facilities.
But thinking about it now, Franklin, isn't it supposed to be the barest minimum? I mean, these are basics in a proper functioning education system. But unfortunately, it is what it is. This is Nigeria, and of course, we're going over to take a deep dive into some of the matters on our desk this morning. And we're starting with the imposition of the 5% tax on petrol and diesel that is supposed to start from the 1st of January 2026. Of course, the Vanguard says opposition is mounting, and stakeholders, civil society organizations are not having it. And this is also coming as the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, Petron, have said that the law, if enforced, could cause its members to close businesses. So the African Democratic Congress ADC and Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, said the tax will worsen the hardship of already struggling Nigerians. And of course, this is basic mathematics. Add 5% tax on what they have to pay at the moment, and it goes back to affect the pricing of petroleum products. And unfortunately, petrol is an essential commodity in Nigeria. When the president took away the subsidy on petroleum products, he mentioned CNG being a dependable alternative. But here we have it. We are yet to see how much dependence we can have on the supposed CNG, the conversion, and all of the things involved. And of course, the federal government doing this in a bid to ramp up non-petroleum based revenue, Tony. The timing, looking at the current data, what the economy is like, and of course, if we are looking to diversify the economy, do we tax the people till they can barely breathe? I mean, it was the president that said let the poor breathe, wasn't he?
Nigeria, remember, there are a lot of issues that many people will still grumble with. There's no doubt. We're talking about the new tariff regime that is about to start. The most important thing is the fact that no matter how you look at it, the present government believes so much on taxation to show up the revenue of the government. They believe so much in that. And if you look at the budget, we talked about this thing extensively, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, where we looked at our budget and how the government plans to show up revenue and at the same time make so much revenue from these budgets. But Nigerians, no matter how you look at it, they are groaning over multiple transactions. And the government is saying with the recent tax reforms, that there are plans, that the government plans to reduce multiple transactions, where it becomes a one-stop shop for average Nigerians, especially when it comes to transaction. But in other works, we have seen those who are opposing to this two tax regime. And I know for sure, one thing Nigerians don't want to hear is tax. If you ask them why don't they want to hear anything about tax, they will tell you, we don't know where our tax money go into. So, if you look at it, I'm aware that under the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, which was signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in June 2023, this tax is set to take effect and applies to refined petroleum products with a stated goal of increasing non-oil revenue. Why are you coming now? I don't know why most times we play the ostrich. This was done, the president signed it, and this is about to take effect. When it was time for protest, there was no protest. When the Presidential Committee on Taxation reforms were going about these things, we could not stop it at the National Assembly. We could not stop it at where we should have stopped it. Now, when it is time for it to take effect, we are coming back. For me, I think it's more like placing the cat before the dog. The key details of this tax involves an additional 5% levy on petrol and diesel purchases. Though we know that it would raise the pump price, no doubt. And we know definitely that there is already high fuel cost in Nigeria, where the average petrol price has risen dramatically from about 197 naira per litre in May 2023 to about 950 naira per litre as of September 2025. I bought yesterday at a cost of about 890 naira. That was the amount I bought yesterday. But we know these things were as a result of fuel subsidy removal. For government, it sees this as a tool to diversify revenue away from oil dependency. But the truth remains that it adds to existing burdens in the downstream sector, which already faces multiple levies. I am aware that the civil society organizations like the Joint Action Front, Policy Alert, they have pledged to mobilize resistance. I'm aware that one Abiodun Aremu of JAF, Joint Action Front, he stated that the organization will reject this imposition and they will do everything possible to organize, mobilize, and struggle with the people to resist and defeat such hardship. But my own candid advice is coming late. Is a law that the government wants to ensure its implementation. When this resistance or protestation or otherwise, these rancors should have been put on, would have been when these things were muted, when they were at the drawing table. But for now,
before you continue, can I come in here? Because we're talking about this very Nigeria Tax Administration Act, which was signed into law by President. That was in June 26, 2025. And it's talking about 5% surcharge on refined petroleum products, and which encompasses petrol and diesel. And we know that in Nigeria, if we are going to use truck, maybe to move goods from one point to the other, the trucks, they run on diesel. If you're going to use the common commercial buses, we know, they run on petrol. Federal government has talked about the CNG, but we know that it's still limited in use, and at the same time, the price is somehow increasing now compared to what it was when the idea of a CNG alternative was mooted. And I also understand that there is going to be a charge too on things like clean energy, cooking gas, compressed natural gas. What this simply means is that it's going to apply to a whole lot of things that is going to affect the common man or affect the larger population of Nigeria. Now, you talked about why is the kick coming now. So my question is, would you blame these people who are kicking now? Perhaps they just saw the content of the bill. We live in a country whereby there is a process of enacting a bill which requires that there must be public hearing. But in most cases, we see that these things are not done the way they're supposed to be done. This issue of tax reform, we know how it came about, how it was mooted by, I think, Ayodele, who was appointed by Mr. President, how he sat with his team, put together all the tax reform bills, pushed to the National Assembly, pushed to the president first before it was moved to the National Assembly. And we know the kind of politics that was in it. Everybody was looking at VAT allocation. That was where the whole attention was. It was like North against the South. Everybody was talking about it until they came to a compromise, what they think that is good for the geese and also good for the gander. But nobody was talking about all that content of that very bill. So would you blame these very people? Perhaps they are just seeing the content of the act, which is going to come into full force by January 2026. That's number one question. Number two question is, now they are talking about it. Is it late that government can delay the implementation, or they can become the process of amendments between now and January? After all, we live in a country where we passed the Petroleum Industry Act, but it took us many years before it came into implementation because of certain controversial content in that very law.
Just like you pointed out, you raised silent issues. I won't blame those who are coming out now, because it's better late than never. But to be honest with you, many Nigerians did not see this coming. They thought it was part of the reform Mr. President was talking about. Remember, this 5% surcharge, when we say surcharge, extra costs, extra payment, whatever way you want to define it, it applies on every liter of petrol, diesel, even aviation fuel and other fossil fuel. In every liter of petrol you buy, you will pay 5% tax. And somebody was telling me something about this yesterday. The person was telling me that, is it true that we are going to start paying 5% tax on any diesel or petrol we buy? That if you go to any fuel station or filling station, once you are done buying your fuel, you pay tax at that filling station. I told the person that these things will be summed up. You don't pay differently. It will be added to the cost of the product. My concern is that this is not good for Nigerians. Nigerians are already paying high for petroleum products. Many of us are seeing the transportation costs soaring so high. Many people have packed their vehicles. Many have sold their vehicles. Many families before now that have many vehicles they don't have any. People have resorted to public transportation. And I hear somebody saying, yes, that's what it should be. After all, if you go to UK, if you go to Germany, if you go to most of these Western countries, they make use of public transportation more compared to private transportation mode. What that means is that they spend their money on trains and
buses,
city
and all of
buses and all that they know the value of what they're doing. Because if you look around, they have security, they have 24-hour power supply, they have good medical system, they can easily access medical care at subsidized rates, they have dairy agricultural products at their beck and call. Government have used those money they would have used to cozy around their metropolis, to lift up so many things around them of a standard, and they're not complaining. Do you know why Nigerians are complaining? You cannot afford medical service, you don't have security, you don't have 24-hour power supply, you have inflation where the purchasing power keeps eroding, you cannot buy this. In fact, the minimum wage is so poor to the point that it cannot take care of certain essentials. And when your minimum wage cannot take care of basic essentials at the lowest price, it tells you a lot. So you find out that this bill, or though it was something the president signed around July or thereabouts, because I'm looking around June.
June 26.
He signed this under the Tax Administration Act around June.
So Tony,
which was expected to take effect by January 1st, 2026.
Let me come in there now that it's been signed, and the reactions are still coming in, and I bet it might not change anything. And of course, when we look at clear purpose for taxation by international best standards, it's expected that it is channeled towards a purpose, and that also has possibly eroded the reasoning of the average Nigerian who cannot find any sort of succor at the end of the day. So the big question now is, what happens now? What is the way forward? It's been signed, and we have about 3 months to get ready. Is there going to be like a possibility of retracing on this, or should Nigerians just get themselves ready for another increase in the price of petroleum products?
We are seeing increase already. Many Nigerians are not aware of this. Many of them, they are not well informed about this. The civil society organizations that are raising this, they don't even know how the National Assembly were able to overcome all this, and these things are there. When it was signed, nobody made a statement. When it was muted, nobody made a statement. But just like Franklin said, probably they have gone round to see the implication of what they never made a statement about. The point remains, let's assume, I like being practical so that people understand the practicability of what we're talking about. Let's assume that a price of a pump price is about 850 naira per liter. The surcharge of 5% implies extra 42 naira 50 kobo. So if you add it to about 850 naira per liter, it will raise the pump price to about 892 naira 50 kobo per liter. That's a huge sum. Anything to that level, and if the pump price becomes 900, it takes over something close to 15 naira to the pump price. So the point remains, it is very, very disturbing. We have not come out of the one we are already in. Look at the price of transportation, and look at many families, and we know very well that energy, any adjustment in the cost of energy cost affects almost everything. It affects the agricultural product. It affects every good in the market. Goods and services are affected, and it also shot up the price or raise the price of some of these commodities. It's basic services, healthcare, education. These things are affected. But I think Mr. President is targeting. Look at the amount we have borrowed. The other day we did say that under Buhari's regime, Buhari borrowed about 65 trillion naira in ATX. But this present administration has borrowed over 52 trillion naira in less than 3 years. And the people are still paying dearly for some of these things. And when you look at it, and they will tell you, yes, there is allocation. If you go to some states now, they are doing so many projects, they are doing this. Have we ever focused on household income? A man, a woman, and there are 3 children, 4 children. What is the income of that family? Would their income sustain the family and ensure that these children go to good school? They have the best of medical care services, and the transportation problem of the family is well sorted out, and they have these are things. And if these taxes do not reflect to some of these things, people will be well burdened, and it will also lift more people into poverty.
Okay, so let me add, because you asked Tony what can be done at this point, and since the law is already signed and we are destined to begin implementation by January 2026, of course. And people who are raising the concern, in as much as somebody can say is belated, but we agree that it's never late than to be delayed. All right. So as they are raising the concern, because I have seen CSOs reacting, I have seen people who are experts in this very industry, they are also reacting, raising concern that for us to have this very tax implemented is going to burden Nigerians more. I've also heard them from stakeholders like the patron, which is the petroleum products retail outlet owners. They are also complaining. One, they said, is going to impact their profit margin, but we know in the real sense of it, they are going to cover it and shift the cost to the common man or the people who purchase the petroleum product. Then for economists who are saying that at this point in time, when Nigerians do not have any kind of safeguard, Nigerians are already under the groins of the subsidy removal, and we're trying to bring in another one that is going to bring more impoverishment to Nigerians. Now, at this point in time, what government can possibly do is, like I said it before, is either they shift the date for the implementation while they do more consultation, or efforts are being made to go back to the National Assembly to see how they can amend that section that provides for this very 5% tax on diesel and petrol. At this point, I think that is what you just need now. So what we can do is that everybody who has this very concern should begin to gather in a group. The CSOs, the stakeholders, the economists, they should form this kind of group so that they can increase their advocacy and make their voices to be heard. Then we Nigerians too can as well join, because if we begin to implement this, I keep on saying, because in Nigeria defies any economic metrics. There's always this Nigerian factor that comes into it.
That's really the Nigeriana part of it.
Now, why am I saying this? Do you know that you can buy a penta of crayfish in Akwa Ibom for 6,000 naira?
And here it is about 13,000.
I say 6,000. The one I bought last time from Akwa Ibom, it was 8,000 naira. But as of that time, it was selling for 16,000 here in Onitsha. Now, that tells you how transportation impact the cost of what you buy. So if we're going to have more money added to the price of a liter of petrol, there is no way it's not going to affect the prices of any other commodity in the market, because how do we transport all these things? We move them through all these trucks and co.
Sorry to butt in there, Franklin. You are talking about even the transportation of other goods, even the transportation of petrol down to different parts of the country would even become more expensive, because we don't have underground pipes. Yeah. Where you just have petrol fixed from, refineries and all of that. Here we still have them transferred using tankers, and these tankers either run on diesel or fuel, and so that alone is going to increase the cost of transporting them to the various locations, bringing about even a further increase outside of the 5%.
We understand where government is coming from. They said they want to make more money. They want to make more money.
Are we feeling the impact of the more money they make?
They said they want to make more money, and look at their plan. Let me just talk about their plan, and then tell you how possible it is not. Because they are saying that their plan is that once they have this additional revenue, they are going to put it towards enhancing transport infrastructure, reducing logistics costs, and supporting Nigeria's transition to renewable energy. But my question has been, right? Because when you have succeeded in doing the very first one, when you now tell us that what you want to do again, people can have faith in you. But we have seen that subsidy will remove. We are told that we're going to remove subsidy, and the money is going to put into other sectors. Have we felt the impact of the subsidy removal? We have not. All we keep on hearing is that state government are having more money, but are we having the impact? So that's where the question is. For the fact that we have not seen that very impact, you might have the plan, but the issue is that we hardly implement this plan. So the advocacy should increase. For me, it should increase. Let them make the advocacy. It's either that we suspend that implementation by January, or go back to National Assembly to amend the law. In as much as it might be too quick, but it has been precedented. MLA and Petroleum Industry Act and some others. We can as well do it in this very case.
All right, then. Now let's move on to some political matters here, because word on the street and, of course, across various major media platforms is that the police has invited El-Rufai, ADC leaders, over alleged conspiracy and incitement. And, of course, the Vanguard newspaper has reported that the Kaduna State Police Command has summoned former Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, alongside 6 prominent leaders of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, for questioning over allegations of criminal conspiracy, incitement of public disturbance, mischief, and causing grievous hurt. In a letter by the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department, CID Uzainu Abdullahi, the command directed the ADC chairman in the state to ensure the appearance of El-Rufai and other party members of the state's Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, on September 8, 2025. Now, those listed in the invitation include Bashar Saidu, Jafaru Sani, Ubaidullah Muhammad, popularly known as 30, Nasiru Maikano, Minu Abita, and Ahmed Rufai Hussaini, also called Mikia. And we recall that on Saturday, the ADC had a meeting in Kaduna State, and of course, according to a report from the police, scores of members of the ADC and and Social Democratic Party SDP members were attacked by hoodlums during a transition meeting. Viral videos showed images of attacks going on and people injured, vehicle windscreens badly damaged. And of course, the Kaduna State Police Command said it did not receive any notification of the meeting convened by the former governor. And Tony led me to asking, does a political party need to, is it like a matter of constitution now to invite the police, to notify the police officially before they can have any meeting? And of course, you get to explain all of those. The Kaduna State Police Command also said that preliminary findings indicate that the gathering led to a clash. Now take note, they said during which thugs and political gangsters attached to the former governor allegedly fired gunshots, causing chaos and disruption of public order and peace in the state. And of course, El-Rufai has since addressed what happened in Kaduna State, especially since after that incident, the ADC office in Kaduna State was sealed by the police. He has since addressed it, and I'm trying to pull up the statement, the audio recording of what El-Rufai himself said. But let's see.
And our voices are present. The Northwest ADC leaders will come and visit Northwest Kaduna to commiserate with us for the incident of Saturday. And we're going to have that visit in our party zonal office. The police commissioner wrote to say that we should not have that. He knows what he's writing is violates the constitution. So they went ahead to try to obtain a court order. This morning he invited the National Vice Chairman Northwest and waved a piece of paper claiming that they have obtained a court order stopping us from having that meeting. We have not seen the court order. It has not been properly served on us, because even if there is a court order, there is a legal process to serve an affected person. It has not been served on us. But as responsible leaders, we had the choice of going there to have our meeting. Nobody can stop us. We are within our constitutional rights. But as responsible leaders, we decided that even though we have not seen the order, we believe the Commissioner of Police, because we don't believe the Commissioner of Police could be lying.
All right, and right after that, reports have emerged of the summon from the police concerning the allegations that somehow El-Rufai is linked to that initial disruption. Tony, what do you make of all of these back and forth, and of course the legality of the sealing of the APC office in Kaduna State?
For me, I think this is serious dive against opposition in this country. Many of us may not like El-Rufai because of quite a lot he did while he was a governor and the FCT minister. And I can let you know that during his time as governor, he boldly chose a Muslim running mate in a religious or religiously diverse state, defying expectations and ethnic religious balancing reform. According to him, he said it was the most daring decision. Remember, before then, he inherited Muslim Christian, and they made so many religious rhetorics against Christians. And you look at what he did with the bandits, negotiating with them, and other things he was able to put out. Different compromising positions. When he sacked about 22,000 underperforming primary school teachers, launched a school feeding program serving, there were a lot of things I did. Many people hate him for.
No, we're not looking at a
But
revised person now.
I'm just coming from that
A
angle.
preliminary.
Yes, but I'm saying that despite all these baggages one may have against him or thereabouts, the meeting that held on the 30th of August in Kaduna State, and remember, just like he said, I listened to what he said now. He was actually saying that there was a alleged court order stopping the meeting from holding. And what was the meeting all about? A coalition meeting of the Social Democratic Party, XDP, and African Democratic Congress, where hoodlums armed with cutlasses, clubs, stones attacked attendees and damaged vehicles. A Rufai vehicle was also damaged, and we are told that these occurred despite police presence at the venue. Though El-Rufai had accused the government of Kaduna State for sponsoring the attack.
And also said the police stood aside.
He said that they alleged that police officers provided cover for the attackers, but he did vow that he would submit evidence to the Inspector General of Police. But the question now is the invitation. The invitation by the police shows political victimization. I looked at the letter, I saw the letter, and look at the people invited, members of the ADC, and that their office had been sealed. One would say El-Rufai could have done same during his own time. Remember when he said that people who had come to monitor the 2019 general elections, if they don't behave themselves, they will go home in body bags. Remember that statement? He will go home in body bags. And it raised serious concerns across the globe. Now, he is at the receiving ends of so many.
The hunter has turned to both
religious banters he made as a governor and as a chieftain of the then All Progressive Congress. But from what happened on the 30th of August, I can boldly say, from the look of things, there's no way somebody can host a meeting and at the same time disrupt the meeting he had hosted. And why Kaduna State government is accusing him of being involved in such disruption is he wants to demonstrate to the world there is no security in Kaduna State. So he had gone round making statements that there is no security in Kaduna State, where the state government has also made a counterclaim that the state is witnessing unprecedented security presence. So El-Rufai, according to the state government, wanted to use the meeting to nail the point he had always made, that there is no security, that he cannot even host a meeting. That is on the one side. So he called such a meeting the coalition meeting between SDP and ADC, and while the meeting was going on, thugs armed with club stones, cutlasses, attacked the attendees, disrupted the meeting, damaged vehicles, but nobody was killed anyway. But the state government now pointed out that El-Rufai could be behind it because he wanted to prove a point before now. El-Rufai is saying, how can I disrupt a meeting I had convened? So now the question is, if you look at these two incidents, I see it somehow that somebody will convene a meeting, political meeting, and at the same time disrupt the meeting, damage his car or cars, vehicles, to prove a point. So I'm not believing what the state government is saying now. Is my opinion anyway. I'm not believing them. And where the ADC office has been sealed, what reason? Are they having factionalization? Where the police went on to invite perpetrators of for disruption, and nobody was invited from APC, nobody was invited from the other side. It was solely from the ADC camp, though police say that they are doing investigation, that these people should tell more story about what happened. That's what the police said. But we can hold them on that very thought, but at the same time, we had thought that it would have been holistic. That is one. And finally, just like we have always said, I have always prayed that opposition should be allowed to breathe. There's no doubt. The way we are going about opposition politics is not the best for the country. They should be allowed to thrive. So that is what it is in Kaduna State. So I've given my honest opinion,
so
my candid opinion.
You interpret it as opposition being sort of gagged.
Something of that nature.
All right. Let's move over. All right then.
Before I come in, because let me submit like this, because one is this: if there was a court order stopping that very meeting and it was not properly served, it cannot be said to be existing. Because if you get a court order, you are required to serve the person who is meant for. That's the only way the person could be in the know that there's an existing court order. If you just go and put it in the media thinking that the person should know, that's not the proper thing. That's number one. Then the number two is this: if El-Rufai had made some statement that there is no security in the Kaduna State and that he's going to prove it, and then something of this nature happens, it will be good that he's invited so that he tells what he knows that is a proper thing to do if he made any statement that was suggestive of what played out in that state. Now coming to what happened, Tony, can we say that what is happening to El-Rufai now is consequent upon the statements he made in recent time, especially the one he talked about federal government paying bandits? Can we say that that was the high point, and the police decided to mask it under what played out in Kaduna State?
There could be some level of relationship. It is being seen he's against the presidency. He's against the central government. He has said quite a lot of things against the government, and we know why he's making this statement, because he was not given ministerial appointment, or the president did not keep to his agreement with El-Rufai. El-Rufai ordinarily would have been the minister for defense. Yes.
Yeah, he also mentioned that there was also moves for him to take charge of power, how he submitted some sort of blueprint and
another time,
working plan.
in fact, the issue of maybe power. So these were the two things that he had agreement with Mr. President, and that did not come to
fruition.
It didn't come, and then he decided to play the spoiler. So what El-Rufai is doing is also he's playing politics. So we shouldn't take it for granted that he's not playing politics.
When you say spoiler, Tony, isn't it supposed to be expected of opposition to point out the loopholes in the government of the day? I mean, if you call El-Rufai playing the spoiler, the things that he pokes a hole in, are there really no holes there?
I think El-Rufai as a person, he's playing a spoiler using security. And security. That is the area people are really concerned. As a governor, there was no security in Kaduna State. As a governor, Southern Kaduna was deserted. Remember, Kaduna State boasts of the highest number of military and police formations in the country.
And yet,
we saw what happened. Bandits, according to him, he negotiated with them. He paid them off at a point. So you did all these things under President Muhammadu Buhari. There was no security. So could it be that you'd been playing politics with security?
And then turned around to accuse the government of the day of pain.
I don't know, but how did he manage to secure his second term with a Muslim ticket? And he made boast that he would secure it, that the Christians would do nothing about it, that he has discovered a new style of politics. So his new style of politics, could it be using security? That was El-Rufai as a governor. Now we're talking about El-Rufai as somebody rejected, somebody not giving ministerial appointment based on agreement he had with the president. And we are talking about El-Rufai, who is nursing wounds of his rejection. El-Rufai, who has left APC, who has now moved into either SDP. He has caused problem in SDP. They said we don't know him, but he's now in ADC. But no matter how you look at it, I still believe that it is somehow not is that is impossible, but seemingly difficult to believe that he will convene such a meeting, bring in talks to disrupt such meetings just to prove a point. He had made a statement that there is no security in the state, and he has also accused the central government, the presidency, of paying bandits. He hasn't proven some of these things. We have been calling on El-Rufai, come and prove these things, and he claims to have every intelligence report. So where are these intelligence reports? Come and prove some of these things. But for me, it is not something within the realm of commissioner of police to invite him or thereabouts. Probably the DSS should also get involved. I have always maintained, if you're playing your politics, don't play politics with security.
Okay.
I've always said this thing. But El-Rufai feels that the best way to go about his kind of politics is to delve into the realm of insecurity. But I still believe that it is difficult to accept that he called those talks to disrupt the meeting he convened. And I thought that the police would also
let's also look at this very trend, because in Kaduna State, ADC SDP meeting was attacked by thugs. In Kebbi State, former AGF Abaka Malami, he came into the state for him to attend the condolence, and his convoy was also attacked, and they were pointing to one direction, saying that this is ruling party try not allow opposition to thrive. Are we also going to overlook this? Because for the police, who has invited El-Rufai to come and answer questions regarding what he knows about the incident in Kaduna State, can we also extend this invitation to the other side and look at also look at what happened in Kebbi State to find out what led to what?
That's why I say that the investigation should be holistic. You don't just invite one party. And remember, Governor Obasani has come heavily on El-Rufai, and he has warned him, you are trying to destabilize my government. You have made inciting comments trying to cause another round of religious crisis in Kaduna State. And since he assumed office as the governor, we have not had or witnessed religious crisis as we witnessed during the time of El-Rufai. But one thing about this life is this: life is a circle. Look at Obasani, who was a close ally to El-Rufai for many years. At a point, he served as political advisor to El-Rufai during his time as a governor, his first time. And El-Rufai backed him to become senator for Kaduna Central 2019 to 2023. In fact, in 2023, El-Rufai endorsed Sani as his successor in that governorship tussle under APC. But today, they're having problem. Governor Sani, sometime around 2024, disclosed that El-Rufai left behind a huge debt burden, over 120 billion in domestic debt and over 500 billion naira in liabilities. When he came out in the open to make such statements, many began to read meaning, saying these two allies, they may not be allies again. Something is really, there's a problem. And we saw how El-Rufai camp saw it as a betrayal, accusing Sani of throwing his benefactor under the bus. But this rift we in question deepened around 2025 when El-Rufai openly criticized the Kaduna State government, accusing them of sponsoring banditry in the state. And it had just turned out to be one after the other. But the question remains, Obasani has chosen to play his political cards very well. He knows very well that El-Rufai is not in the good page or in the good book of the president, and he has decided to align with Mr. President.
Is that political betrayal possibly the kind of stuff that a former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was also hinting at in Edo State?
Politics is all about interest. So in a way to achieve that interest, there could be betrayal, backstabbing, neck twisting, and so many things. So if you call it betrayal, it is in fact a good name. What about neck twisting? What about backstabbing?
Witch hunting.
Wizard hunting. So the thing is all a game of interest. No permanent friend, no permanent enemy. What is permanent is interest. Today, the interest of Obasani and El-Rufai their two interests do not align, and one has decided to follow Mr. President. El-Rufai could have done same when he was the governor. He decided to follow Buhari blindly. Whatever atrocity Buhari committed, El-Rufai will defend it. In fact, we even endorse it. Now, this is, I wouldn't want to call it karma, it's politics, a game of chess.
It is what it is. Now, let's look at the president embarking on a 10-day working vacation in France and UK. And of course, there's been backlash. There's been interpretations of his, what I'd call a constant trip. There's been 15 foreign trips in 2025 alone. There's been 41 trips across 26 countries in his 2 years plus administration. The most recent being his trip to Japan and Brazil in August. And now we're also learning that he has departed Abuja to Europe to begin a 10-day working vacation as part of his 2025 yearly leave. Now, according to a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president will spend the holiday between France and the UK before returning to the country. When we started the conversation, Tony, I'm also sure you were here. Franklin asked the question about the transmission of power to the vice president, especially since the president is away on vacation and not a working visit.
We are back to where we were in 2024. Remember when Mr. President embarked on 2 weeks vacation, 2 weeks vacation, sometime around October 2024. We talked about this, and the provision of the Constitution is very clear on this. Section 145 made it very clear that Mr. President, while on vacation or unable to discharge the functions of office, shall transmit power to the vice president, and he should also write to the National Assembly, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, informing them of such decision. But the Constitution under subsection 2 also provides that if he fails to do so in 21 days, the Vice President automatically becomes the acting president.
He's going to be away for just 10 days. Is he still supposed to do that transmission?
Remember, yes, the Constitution did not say how many days you will be away before you do transmission. Whenever you are going on vacation.
But the Constitution says also if he fails to do that within 21 days. Isn't that some sort of ambiguity?
There's no ambiguity.
No, I think that is when it becomes extended, because sometimes somebody writes, I'm going on vacation for 10 days. Okay, let me make reference to what happened to former governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu, because the very first time he said he was traveling, but when he could not recover on time, he extended beyond the time he gave the assembly that he was going to come back. So I think what the law is trying to deal with is the fact that once you have mentioned that you're going on vacation, just like if you are going on your leave on your job, it is assumed that any active duty is hereby suspended. Someone else has to take up that those very assignments.
Truly.
So in the case of Mr. President, the law says if you are going on vacation, what is it called vacation, whether it's for 2 days or 3 days, you're supposed to transmit power to your vice, who will discharge this responsibility in acting capacity in your absence. Then it's now when it becomes extended without communication. So it's assumed that you have become incapacitated. Then somebody else has to close that very gap. But in this very case, nothing was transmitted, and Onanuga didn't explain anything to us.
I think he did.
Has he explained why
yes.
he did not transmit?
Yes, he did. He said Mr. President is embarking on working vacation. There is difference between vacation and working vacation. When you embark on vacation, you are completely off from work. That's totally off from work. But when you are on working vacation, you are on vacation, but you are technically working. So if you look at the explanation Bayo Onanuga gave sometime around October 2024, he said Mr. President embarked on working vacation, that if he embarks on working vacation, he doesn't need to transmit power because he's still working.
Don't you think that this is a semantic gymnastics? Because the thing is that we have a way of inventing things to suit narration or to suit whatever they want to feel. The point is that Mr. President does not feel comfortable transmitting power to his vice, and that's why he has issued a statement to say that he's embarking on a working vacation. What sort of invasion is that?
That he moved with the files. That some files he moved, along with this. The point is
the same time they moved files to Buhari when he was sick in London.
Remember what happened during the time of Yaradua, when Yaradua died in office? I saw that video where Dora Akunyili was actually saying that the cabals hijacked everything. In fact, when she discovered that they were lying was when they told her that they brought the files to the ADC, and the ADC put the files to Yaradua before Yaradua could sign the file. And one said that he got into the compound, and then some details, they gave conflicting accounts of how a particular file was signed, but it was discovered that that file was not signed by Yaradua. The cabals forged Yaradua's signature on that file. And if you look at the file has to do with, I think, oil prospecting license, OPL, something that is very sensitive, that needs the president's signature. But the fact remains that Yaradua's signature was appended, but was it forged? And Yaradua was in coma. How could somebody who was in coma have appended his signature? But according to her, as the Minister of Information, she was probing to find out how this file was signed. And one person was given different account, the other person was given another account. At that point, it was done on her that this was fake, that Yaradua never signed any signature. And she was the first to alarm the general public, Nigerians, that Yaradua is in coma, was in coma at that time, and before you know it, Yaradua passed on. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: under section 145 of the Constitution, that section talks about vacation. If you like, call it technical vacation. If you like, call it working vacation. If you like, call it any form of vacation. Use any adjective to qualify it. Vacation is vacation. But the point remains that Bayo Ononuga has given his explanation, saying he's working one, that the president is still working.
But I'm concerned, Tony.
No need of transmitting power.
Is there something that can be done to the law? I do know that what we have, unfortunately, the House being there to serve the demands of the president, unfortunately, from what we have seen so far. But is there a possibility of a constitutional framework or amendment that could put a clause that would limit these travels? Look at what we have: 15 foreign trips in 1 year. We've only spent 9 months in 1 year, right? And that means sometimes the president leaves the country twice in a month. And then we have 41 trips across 26 countries in 2 years plus. His administration officially kickstarted in March 2024 after the February 2023 election, the 2023 kickstart. By 2024 1 year, 2025 1 year. So say in 2 years and 6 months we have counted 41 trips across 26 countries. And of course we know what the list of the trips that President Muhammadu Buhari took was like, quite a lengthy one. How do we curb this?
I think Obasanjo started it as a president when we came in and Fourth Republic began. Obasanjo started it with Omar of trips, saying that he wanted to launder our image, that the world that time did not see us as any country being serious or being refined. But the truth remains that, just like we have said many times, single trip spending of Mr. President, they don't tell us the valuation. In other countries, when things of this nature happens, the presidency will release the figures, that is being accountable to the people. I'm aware that one trip of Mr. President will cost the country around $8.7 million. One trip. Just one foreign trip. I'm not talking about domestic trip. Because domestic trip, the time he came to Anambra State, could have cost him around 638.5 million for coming to any state. It cost the president around 600 to 700 million naira to visit any state. But if he's to make a foreign trip, it will cost him around 6.99 or around 8.7 max, $8.7 million. So if you put all the trips, you said Mr. President had how many trips in how many months?
15 in 9 months.
In 9 months. If you sum it up, it would give you close to about $1 billion, and that's a huge amount of money. For that money, we'll buy so many clubs in Premiership. Apart from the
Tony, really?
But that's true. That amount. No, our president foreign trip under 9 months, as you said, the amount spent on those trips, we buy clubs outside Arsenal, Man U, Chelsea, and probably Man City.
That's how cute to take a break.
Now I'm telling you, it will buy the Rex down. It will buy one. I'm not saying it will buy all of them put together. That amount will buy clubs like Brentford, clubs like all these middle table clubs. It will buy. That's the point is,
We're spending so much.
How much do we make from these travels? We must look at those things, because he is not going alone. You have those going along with him, extra coach, hotels, travels, even the presidential plane, the hangar. We are spending so much. It takes a lot.
So that's the reality on ground.
I think the thing is, because you asked the question whether the National Assembly should consider
putting a benchmark. If you've done 10 in your 4 years, that's it.
Let me tell you, there are some things that you cannot attempt to legislate in Nigeria, because if you do that, it will end up in the confines of the dustbin. It will become useless. You know why? There are things that you can only correct when you have people who have conscience, people who understand
by example.
That they are called to serve. People who understand that for every trip they make, it's at the expense of money that should have been invested in other profitable sector of the economy. Now, the thing is this: if you make such law now, I bet you will see a new coinage. Maybe they will begin to call it voyage, tourism drive.
Oh yeah.
So you know the way they came up with the working vacation.
Oh yes.
Instead of vacation, as the constitution says,
it's not a working
if you don't want to transmit power, you can call it working vacation.
All right, gentlemen, we take a break at this point. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we open up the phone lines. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic. Public announcement. The Anambra State Housing Development Corporation, ASHDC, wishes to inform all the allottees of the Obiwane, Liberation and Green Valley Housing Estates, Oka Capital Territory, respectively, that the corporation has opened up all the roads in these estates. Consequently, allottees are to take physical possession of their plots and develop same to habitable state. It is mandatory that allottees secure the necessary approvals before proceeding for development. Allottees who fail to comply with this directive risk revocation of their allocation. Be also informed that we have limited number of plots in these estates for allocation to interested persons on first come first allocated basis. Please be guided accordingly. Signed, Jane Okafor, Head of Media and Marketing, Anambra State Housing Development Corporation.
Your quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Obachi Chande Dosialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Naki Chande Dendu. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your Obachi. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Misha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tant Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. Wendy's bread.
This is to inform the general public that Guinness Eye Center Onitsha, the eye department of Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital Nnewi, in partnership with Guinness Nigeria PLC, is offering 75 free cataract services to indigent patients with cataract. Screening of patients will commence on Wednesday, 3rd of September and end on Friday, the 5th of September 2025 at Guinness Eye Center Onitsha. The time is 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. daily. Selected patients will be operated on next week. This is to inform the general public that Guinness Eye Center Onitsha, the eye department of Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, is in partnership with Guinness Nigeria PLC and offering 75 free cataract services to indigent patients with cataract. Screening of patients will commence on Wednesday, 3rd of September and end on Friday, 5th of September 2025 at Guinness Eye Center, Onitsha. Time is 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. daily. Selected patients will be operated on next week.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And absolutely, the time is now. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694 to join the conversation. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. You can also join the conversation by dropping a comment on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Now, you know the MO. 2 minutes, please. No lengthy greetings. Go straight to the point. And please be as objective as possible in your submission. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My ladies. Good morning this morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Tony, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Franklin, good morning, my friend. Let me start bottoms up and rush it. Well, nature has vacuum. We do not adhere to rule of law. Rather than do what is right in point, we keep referring backwards. This fact, we know how much we lose in money and time. Money, I mean dollar. Our president keeps gallivanting the universe as if he is on a world discovery voyage. I mean, like Santa Lucia at Earth. So we begin to think, are we really adhering to the rule of law? Now, fuel tax increase. We are going to work into the unitized, work into it with petrol hike. And that is by December, and that is when everyone, that is the unitized. Now, after all, most of the governors are with the APC. What it means by implication is all of us are involved, the citizens too. Think about it. 19 states support the APC. So, are we saying we don't support the fuel hike? As a majority, we got to walk back a little. Please, look inward before this state pollution. Some of us were here in this country when we had something similar. It didn't work because we don't have the maturity, we don't have the training, we don't have the orientation, and there is no way we can do it except if we send whoever is going to this police to train so that the training will be as fair with what goes on in other climes. Rule of law, again, most of all, must be encompassing. Do we look at our grandmothers? Do we? Before achieving Nigeria's security issue. Thank you. Have yourself a wonderful day.
For your contribution this morning. Hello there.
Good morning. Good morning, my sister. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The voice of Honorable Dozen, Mayor Okutukume, Okulolo Tindon, calling from Owerri Road this morning.
Go ahead.
My take is on the issue of the presidency now trying to add tax upon the huge amount of money that we use to buy petrol. I don't know what is wrong with our leaders. I don't know. I don't know if they ever think about the welfare of people that they are leading. We are trying that they remove oil subsidy. And you see how the country is now. Everybody is suffering. Now they are about to add more money in petrol. How do they feel that Nigeria will cope with this situation? In the name of God, I plead them to always think about the people that they are leading. They are causing more harm. See, hospital, the health sector is not going well. Education is not going well. No good roads. Now he is traveling up. This year he has traveled up to 15 times. In 2 years he has traveled up to 41 times. Which present has left everything up campaigning for 2027 so far, and people are investing in. Well, I pray that God will give us the energy and peace of mind to follow the situation. Thank you, and God bless you all.
God bless you too. Hello, good morning. Are you there? Are you there? You should try to reconnect. 0803-827-6694, 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Turn down the volume on your radio set.
Yeah, I'm away from it. My name is David. Good
Go
morning
ahead,
to
David.
you, gentlemen, in the studio.
You're welcome.
Hello?
We can hear you, David. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. That goes to show the insensitivity of our leaders. From the record, now, just like the last caller asked a very good question. Which president of the world? Last week, there was a very, very serious national security issues. Trump was only put on conversation is it through Skype or whatever, with Putin and Zelensky of Russia. That is a national issue of national importance. But he could not travel, and that is presumably president of the world today. Our local president here now traveled about 15 times in 9 months. And the one that is even mind-boggling is that if you travel to any state in Nigeria, it's worth about 600 and something million. Doctors have been crying, ASU has been crying. That money alone, if he has committed, it is being committed to solving this problem of these workers. Will Nigeria not be better in another way? Why is it that we are so insensitive to national issues that is compelling? And then somebody has a mind that you are ruling people. Now, like they said, they are now about to increase fuel about 8-point-something billion dollars that will have been expended if he has traveled by 8 years or whatever. That money is enough to be to solve a particular problem. Even in education, once and for all, we will not be hearing any issue about education. But they will not do it. And the only thing, my conclusion here is that this very travel is another new way of corrupting Nigerian money. That is corruption in a high definition. That is it. Thank you very much.
All right then. Thank you for your contribution. Let's hear what you have to say. Hello, good morning. Okay, you should try to reconnect now. 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
That's a wonderful morning to you from Chinedu.
Good morning.
Franklin, Olisa Mbeki, good morning to all of us.
You're welcome.
I'm calling from Onitsha. Let me just go. In fact, I don't have problem with the president right now traveling wherever he wants to. Let him travel. Don't have issues with that. We are seriously concerned and disturbed. He's trying to come back to traveling in 2027 and 2029 to 2031. I believe every right-thinking Nigerians must have to think about it. You are not competent enough to govern. Probably your health is not helping you out. We are seeing series of travel. Let him take his time to sort himself out and travel to the remaining part of the world. And forget about this idea of coming back to 2027. Look at what they are doing in Kaduna State. Kaduna that have been peaceful. Because of Rufai, you are trying to hijack the structures in Kaduna State. Anambra State is not left out because we see the romance ongoing between him and our professor here. You talk about River State, you talk about Delta State. Even if he's doing all these things and we are seeing some, things on ground, we can say, well, we are seeing some things on ground, he can go on. But trying to turn Nigeria into a one-party system is something that is unacceptable and making him an enemy of the masses. So I just want to say that he's supposed to transfer power before you leave, but he's not going to that direction because probably we know he's an antecedent. If he's a Yoruba man, he trusts Yoruba more than any tribe in Nigeria. Yet you want to govern all the Nigerians. So I think he prefers even to hand over to the wife or Yemi Tinubu or the son or even Oluomo, the man that is collecting transport fares. He prefers his race than trusting now elected vice president. So it's really unfair. It's undemocratic. And those who are supporting him for 2027, I wonder do they really understand what democracy is all about? Do they really understand what delivering of democratic dividend is all about?
You should be round enough.
I don't see him as a problem traveling now.
All right then.
Let him take his time, travel to the many parts of the world, and forget about this side because Nigerians are getting ready. This will continue voter registration. People should get their voter cards.
All right then. Your point has been quite noted. I am sorry. If you could just stick to the 2 minutes. Summarize your points. You don't even have to do up to 2 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning, my speaker.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Chisom and Franklin.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
This is the voice of our big issues to go from already shaking, but I'm calling from you now.
Go ahead.
You see, what's happening in the Kaduna State is a signal that the way this country is going is not in order. And I don't know why. Anytime you have a president from that west, they always do this thing. It happened in Anambra during Obasanjo because he hated the governor. Then, allow talks to invade Anambra State. That's a cause. The same thing happened in Kaduna. I don't think the Kaduna State is the person who arranged the talks that they stop their meeting. It can't happen so. This is political motivated action by the ruling party. If so, why stealing the office of the ADC? Why stealing the office? It's not political motivation. They're supposed to steal the office of the office of the party. It's too hard. They are going the way that is to us, many of us, who knows about how politics is doing. Our president going out from Nigeria, he just came back from Brazil, and went away. I think yesterday. Let him continue. He's afraid of staying in this country. Maybe this place is the seat here is hurting him. That's why he don't want to stay at his office. His Nigerian suffering is too hard for him to condone. Thank you.
All right,
I'm
then.
done.
Let's hear what you have to say now. 0803-221-6973. You can also drop your comment on Facebook. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my name is Honorable George, calling from Asaba.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me say something here. It's a very, very sad situation that we find ourselves in this country of all stars. Person will be telling us about stars. So you are traveling all over the country, spending a lot of money. So what mindset do you want us? Now you are putting all this body on. What do you want us to look like? And what do you want our feeling to? What do you want us to feel? Because you can't be telling me that this man is just tax collector in Bible. So that's Zacchaeus or the one that Jesus went. That is terrible. Because you can't tell me that you remove fuel subsidy. At the end, do you know that now that this ATM machine that you go, they are collecting 107 naira. This for the very first time in Nigeria, they started with 30 naira. Now it's 107 naira. Any transfer that you did, they must collect money from it. People that are doing POS are complaining. The federal government charge 50 naira in every transaction. What is going on? What is the money? What are they using your money to do? What are they using all this money to do? Rather than to be enriching themselves, buying SUV, buying yachts, buying different traveling all over the world. Tomorrow you will not tell Nigeria to have patience. To have patience. Only all these things that is going on in this country that we are seeing the progress in what is going on. Look at that. Look at that, Saba. Come to a junction there. They can't even repair how many kilometer road. It's a federal road. You cannot go. If you go to Abuja now, after Ibela, you will see the way motor are in that road. That's federal government road. But if you are collecting all this money and putting all this money and people are seeing it, we have a steady light in Nigeria.
we say that there's a difference. There's no difference between the government of Buhari and this very man. And they are giving us a lot of tax to pay. It's a very shame situation.
All right.
that we are facing. Thank you.
All right then. Have a good morning. 0803-221-697-30803-827-6694. And also we are live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can drop your comment here. Last call before we go to Facebook. Who is there? Good morning.
Morning, Tommy.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning to you.
It's good to have you.
Frank. My name is Marikesh. You can come from Onitsha.
Go ahead.
Well, Nigerians, we are, I don't know. Well, talking about the taxis and the buying fuel and all that, people have been there before. But in as much as we are complaining that so many taxis, we should not forget that Tinubu is bringing the policy of his own country, because Tinubu is not just a Nigeria. I think he's a British citizen or American citizen. So that is what you will see. When a foreigner is still governing your state, yes. So he is bringing some of the policies in their own states. So Nigeria, there is nothing to complain about. To me, in as much as the tax is not even much. So Nigerians, we must take it like that. But my problem is that just taxing Nigeria, the money that you get from those taxes, what are you doing? Yes, after taxing, you are still borrowing. So to me, talking about the taxes is a good one to me. You understand? But if there will be judicious use of it, very, very well. But not just taxing Nigerians. After all that, you will still go and borrow, and you will not still make a very good use of it. You use it to go and buy nonsense. Yes, and all the things that are not even welcomed by Nigerians. You just do it on your own. That is where my problem is. That is what I want to say on this issue this morning. Thank you very much.
All right then. Let's go over to Facebook now.
Okay, for the Facebook page, we have this one coming from Dr. Mrs. Molebara from Owerri State. She says, the creation of state police would not offer solution to insecurity in the country, but a well-established, organized vigilante groups at community levels. Criminal elements live and interact with the people, and unless the activities are exposed, there will remain threats. If we expose them, crimes will reduce. Policemen have not been effective in policing their communities as they shield their kids and kin. This calls for moral and ethical reorientation. Then Ugochukwu Frank from Onitsha says, nobody cares, like El Rufai is getting sympathy because now he snapped pictures with a P2B. Okay, he's asking a question, and he said that El Rufai, I'm not going to use the word he used here, but you have not described him in good garb. So you are saying that under the government of Buhari, that he was nepotistic and tribalistic. So you're saying that nobody cares actually. Also, Francis Omaganamani from Amagunze in Enugu State says, Mr. President should curtail his incessant foreign trips and focus primarily on how to tackle the spate of kidnapping, banditry, killings, and hunger in the country. A stitch in time saves 9. And he added that Mr. President should revisit the 2014 confab and get the report implemented to address some of the challenges facing the country. Then Ambrose Anekwe, we thank you for following this very program. And then let's also get to acknowledge this other post that we are made on the front page pages that we posted. So let's quickly get to acknowledge this very post before we get to wrap up today's conversation. This one is coming from Ekegonas. He says, it's like our ex-president, Mr. Goodluck Jonathan, is waking up late. Nigerian politicians are betrayers, liars, and they can also frustrate, so he should be careful of those calling him out for 2027 presidential election. And Ekegonas comes back to say, federal government 5% taxes on every liter of petrol is another way of inflicting more hardship on Nigerians. Nzekwe Celestine says, President Tinubu is afraid of being impeached because he's not trusting his vice being a northerner. And Mazizubi Madweke from Oboreni in Abia State says, Nigerian politics is full of traitors and liars. Jonathan, now you know, sir. That's the reason why the elite say politics is a dirty game. And these are the reactions coming from our Facebook page.
All right, Tony. What will be your final verdict and also the questions asked so far?
I will be pushing and also asking the federal government, the presidency, the central government to review this 5% tax on every liter of petrol. We know it's a law. Probably we did not make our input at the time we could have made that, but laws are made for the people, not the other way around. So it's important that the government looks into that. It's going to push the pump price and it will also inflict more hardship on Nigerians. So that law made by the National Assembly, the acts of the National Assembly, should be also looked into. Mr. President, you will be in France, you will be in London, or that's UK, as we are told. And according to your office, that you have embarked on working vacation. That means that there could be no need for power transmission since there is no vacuum anyway. But would also lead that these incessant travels, it is piling on the cost of governance, and it's also depleting the limited resources we have as a country. Those countries that boast about over $100 billion in revenue, they don't make this kind of travels. And if Nigeria were to be a company, ask yourself, would the company still be existing or moribund? Is a reflection we must take deep look into. You've just come from Brazil, and we know how much the country spent on your travel to Brazil. And we are still also waiting for the dividends. Yeah, Petrobras, we are told that they will commence their operations, direct flight from Sao Paulo to Lagos, and so many other things. But as we are still waiting for these gains, we can as well curtail more expenses.
All right, then. Thank you, Tony Olisa Mbeki, for your wonderful analysis this morning. Franklin, what would you say?
Well, the issue of all this tax wouldn't have been an issue if actually we live in a country where prudence is the key word. I'll give you an instance. I have a friend who lives in London, and last time we spoke, he told me that out of £2,000 he earns in a month, he spends like 1,200 on paying bills every month. So he has £800 left for his upkeep. But he told me that £800 takes him for more than 2 months. Now,
cost of living.
Exactly. So that tells you that over there, the money has value. And when you work, you put in the hours, of course you earn, have some money in your pocket, but you have mounting bills to pay. Definitely because tax is very high on that very side. But as you're paying this very tax, government is using the tax to invest on public utilities and things that can impact your life. Take, for instance, we talked about public transport. That over there, somebody was trying to compare that Nigerians should bear. After all, if you go to some other foreign countries, most people use public transport. How many of us can use public transport in this country? No, it's a fact. How many of us can use it? It's a fact. Or like the one I entered.
Do we even have state-run transportation method? That's a big question.
Apart from BRT they have in Lagos, which is reasonably decent.
And what Enugu state government has done.
Because when I say reasonably decent is, okay, let me even talk about Anambra. That's one transport company in Anambra now that loads somewhere at a worker. Air-conditioned bus. But guess what? Last time I was there, I saw that the bus was becoming what others are. Like, sometimes when you want to use public transport, there's a way you go to, okay, let me even pay the fare that is much, but let me have that very comfort. But now it's like they're trying to turn it to what others are, where they will use bags, use all manner of luggage to block everywhere, that you can just enjoy that kind of comfort. So if we're talking about public transport that everybody can use, let's begin with all these rickety vehicles on the road. How many of them are roadworthy? that we can talk about. People can drop their cars.
The transportation sector is a private one. You see, that's capitalism for you. And so if the government decides to swoop in that particular sector, that's the only time that you can say these vehicles are not roadworthy.
It's not even government going in. It's about having a regulation and maintaining that.
How many people can afford to buy vehicles that are roadworthy, Franklin?
There are. Okay, people who are people who are
the same thing capitalism does. It goes back to the ambits of the rich.
Just look at this. If you have, the thing is this. Let me tell you, when it comes to business, if you have set up a standard and say nobody is going to go below this, there are people who can get the capital either in groups or in cooperative and run it.
This is what I mean.
The thing is this. Let's have that very standard. There are people who run some transport company that are very decent. If you want to do logistics through them, you come in there, they weigh everything, give you the price.
I agree. There are notable brands that do that.
If you are going with that transport company, if you have a baggage that is like 2 or 3, they will tell you we cannot carry this, we can carry this. It's a standard.
I get your point. However, when I talk about capitalism being at the center of it all, because the average man who wants to invest in transportation, and of course, looking at the fact that we are very, very unemployed, our unemployment index is quite high. A lot of persons are poor, and a lot of transport workers depend on the daily earnings to feed. If you say, let's start to weigh all of these things via regulations, a lot of persons are going to be out of jobs for starters. Now, if we say, okay, people who have the money, let them invest. Do you know how much a keke on hire purchase is at the moment? That is what it is going to go back to.
The thing is, I keep on saying this, and there's always an opportunity cost for everything. Do you know that some of the accidents we have on our roads, the impact is because of the quality of vehicles we have?
I'm not disputing that. However, like I said earlier, the government would have to take charge,
if you have
subsidize a whole lot for us to have that sanity.
If you have a standard, yeah, people will definitely come into that very system. Like let's use one of the commonest, which is the telecom. We know how it came, where it was. Where is it now?
Okay. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it eventually pans out. Thank you, Franklin, for being here today. The Polity is going to make a return on Monday. Until then, my name is Chisom Chinedu. Do have yourself a beautiful weekend and happy Eid al-Maulud to our Muslim brothers. Good morning.